Let's make lemonade. Okay. Let's go to work.
That's the signal. Go, 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 go. Six. It's beautiful. Mother Nature just pissed her pants, dude.
Start your day with a jolt of energy and no-holds-barred opinions. This is The Rush, where Travis Justice and Ross Peterson bring you both on sports, life, and everything in between. Buckle up and let's go.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Rush Radio Show, powered by Willis Automotive. Happy Monday. Happy July 14th. What a weekend. What an absolutely wonderful weekend. We're happy to have you on a Monday morning. If you're listening on the audio stream at therushladio.com or on the Android Rush Radio app or on the TuneIn app, thank you so much. A lot of YouTubers out there that favor, hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, start leaving your comments in the comments section. And, of course, you can follow us on X, Facebook, and Instagram. Good morning, Ross Peterson. What's going on there, buddy?
I'm home. I'm not at the lake anymore.
I thought you'd be happy to be home.
I am happy.
Yeah. You get to see your daughter.
Yeah.
There is something about sleeping in your own bed that's kind of
wonderful.
Nice.
Yeah. There's great things about being home. But, I mean, come on. You guys all got to see why I come back and go, oh, I can't wait to get back. And now I didn't even think about Trav. So you and I were talking before the show. Next year, we're going to go in like late September. We're going like September 13th, which means I have more than a year before I'm back there. And that's just not okay.
So why the decision to push it to September and not go maybe the bug? So could you go earlier though? Could you said you don't mind the cold and the rain. Could you go in May? Could you go in April? Could you go in March?
I think that sounds like I should probably do 2 trips. Yeah.
There you go.
Probably do 2 trips.
So start about what? An average of 5 houses a month?
Right. Going to invest in my own Earthlink. Or Starlink, I mean.
Why? We have one.
I don't know.
All it is doing a handoff.
Okay. All right. So as long as you're okay with it.
Yeah.
It made the trek back, just so you know, in great condition. All wrapped up and everything.
And the cord's wrapped up nicely. You know,
it is.
The cord.
It's even in the little container.
When I handed off the Starlink to Ross, we lost one of the Velcro ties.
Yeah.
And it disappeared. I mean,
I'm convinced it's like stuck to a shirt somewhere.
Probably mine, because I'm the one who unwrapped it. We were wrapping it back up. Like, where's the Velcro tie? And Ross almost saw the anxiety, and my wife is like, "Oh, he's about ready to freak out. He is about ready to freak out over a Velcro tie."
So, Trav, I see a lot of people here saying that everything's really choppy. That the video is choppy, and like, I'm getting it. Everything looks good to me. You seeing things fine?
No, I'm seeing fines. I've got.
What's going on here?
Yeah, don't know. I'm fine on my side.
Well,
I'm not
guys,
going to worry because people can hear us.
Yeah, let us know. Let us know if something changes, because maybe we can. I mean, that's odd that everybody is saying.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't like that. App is fine, Mick says. So everybody download the app.
Yeah, you can download the TuneIn app. It's free to search the Rush Radio Show. I have no idea why the YouTube.
Yeah, that's weird. Yeah. I'm even getting texts from listeners saying it's choppy.
Huh?
Facebook is even messed up. What the hell's going on, man?
No idea. Well, you know what it is. It could be the software that is known as StreamYard, which is running a separate audio than the app, because the app goes through a processor. Because you can't do 2 at the same time. Heaven forbid if softwares talk to one another. Heaven forbid if there were things that made softwares talk to one another. But yeah, so yeah, we're not going to reset. We're because that means we would have to shut down and start it all over again. We're not going to do that because if it's choppy on YouTube, we'll see what we can do for tomorrow. But at the end of the day, we're just going to roll right through it, my friend. We're going to roll right through it. So what time did you get back on Saturday? I know you left pretty early on Saturday morning from Canada.
Yeah, we got on the boats at 6 a.m., and then that got us home. We pulled back into the Agency Iowa parking lot like 5 p.m. on Sunday night.
Ooh.
Or Saturday night, I'm sorry.
Ooh, that's a long drive.
So, yeah, I mean, if you were just to haul straight through, it would be about 9.5 hours. But with, you put a couple stops in there. If you take your time, it took us 11 hours to get from Ankeny to Morrison, Ontario. But that again included like lunch stops. We went to Duluth for lunch, which is 30 minutes out of our way. That added probably about an hour of our travel, just so that we could meet Audie, my cousin, and have lunch with him on the way. So that we took our time. We didn't race up there. Getting home is another story. Getting home, you hit the gas pedal. So Dusty even got a written warning.
Really? A written warning is much better than a ticket, right? I mean, you'll take a written warning at all. Now, my question was, because I've gotten a couple warnings. I haven't gotten a ticket, knock on wood, for a long time, but I've got the written warnings. Do written warnings go into like the police database? Like this guy got a warning?
No idea. I mean, I would assume something goes in there so that way, because if the next guy pulls you over, he doesn't go, all right, here's another written warning. I don't know.
How fast was he going?
I think he was I think he was 68 and a 55. 13 over.
Yeah. Sergeant Paul Parizek always told us 8 you're fine, 9 you're mine.
Yeah, 8 is great, 9 you're mine.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've tried to maintain that. When I went to New Orleans a couple of weeks ago, I maintained that 8 over, never really went 9 over. I got to drive to Kearney, Nebraska today. I'm going to maintain that 8 over and just not cross that 9 threshold because and then I'm hanging out with some cops out there, and they're great guys. And I asked them about that philosophy, and even the sheriff's department said, "Yep, that's kind of the rule. 8, you're great. 9, you're mine." So I follow that. I had a good weekend too, man. I was I met up with Mick and Lisa in Stanton, Iowa.
Oh, nice!
Have you ever been to
photo.
Yeah. And they just got their brand new Rush gear. They were both wearing Rush gear. Mick had this vintage shirt. I go, "Where'd you get the vintage shirt?" He goes, "It's on your website, man." I go, "I had no idea." So if you go in, you can pick you don't have to go with black. You can pick a number of different colors. I actually got an orange shirt that came in. And I don't know if you saw this, Ross, but I'm drinking out of my Rush mug today.
I saw you.
I don't know if I'm going to run through this.
I love it.
I don't know if I'm going to run this through the dishwasher or not. It's one of those things where I think I'm going to be safe and just not run it through the dishwasher. Not think it's bad quality. It's a really good mug, but it's like one of those things. Obviously, they print it so fast. You're like, I'm just not going to run this through the dishwasher, so it doesn't come off. So just hand wash the mug. That would be my suggestion. So, but just a really good weekend in Stanton, and actually met a couple listeners in Stanton. The guy who runs for the Corps of Engineers Saylorville Lake is from Stanton, and he comes up to me and goes, "Hey, I just want you to know I listen to you and Ross every day."
No way.
And I go, "Oh, do you live here in Stanton?" He goes, "No, I live in Des Moines. I run Saylorville Lake." And I go, "Oh, really?" I go, "Do you work for the DNR? Who do you work for?" He goes, "No, I work for the Corps of Engineers." Yeah. But he's an avid listener, listens all the time, and it was good to catch up with him.
My brother worked for the Corps of Engineers my brother-in-law worked for the Corps of Engineers for a while. I mean, a couple decades ago. So probably not, no overlap there, but very cool, dude. That I would love to chat with him.
Yeah, and I said, you've probably seen Ross up there at some point, and you probably didn't even know it.
Probably chased me off a campground one time or something like that.
I wanted to tell him that. I asked my wife to marry me at Saylorville Lake.
Is that where she said yes?
That's where she finally said yes. Because she told me no 3 times.
But where were the locations of the 3? Maybe it was the location that made her say yes.
No, it was an interesting. It was an interesting thing. I've told this story before, but it's been a couple of years, so I'll tell it again. And we just celebrated our 32nd or 33rd anniversary. I think 33rd, and no 32nd. Got to get that right. Want to make sure that I know how long I've been married to my wife. The first time I asked her, I think was like in Persia, Iowa. We were right around her hometown. Second time was in Ames, and she gave the ring back both times. First time she said yes, and then 2 days later gave it back, said no. Second time she said no. Then we had a little breakup for about a year, and then we got back together, and I had it all planned. We were going to go to Saylorville. It was going to be midnight on the dam of the anniversary we started dating. So it was in March, right? And she was going to Iowa State at this time, and she needed to get back. It was right around minute. She goes, "I got to get back to Ames." I go, "No, we're going to go out to Saylorville. I just want to watch the moon or whatever." I was trying to make it anything up I could, and of course a fight ensued because she wanted to go. So an argument started, and then I was actually at like Merle Hay, and that quick trip up on Merle Hay, because I used to live right around there.
I know the one.
Yes. And so, fine, I'm at a stoplight. I'm like, "Will you marry me?" And she's like, "Oh, did you have something planned?" I'm like, "Yeah, but you screwed it up because you wanted to get out of here. You wanted to leave." So she wouldn't say yes till I went through with my original plans. So we went out to Saylorville, went onto the dam, and I asked her to marry me. And the rest is history, as they say. We got married, and she's been unhappy and happy at the same time. So good for her. Good for her. Good to have her.
That's great.
Do you remember where you got engaged the first time?
Oh, of course, absolutely. Yep. Place called La Fonda, Mexico. La Fonda is the name of the woman that shows up at the end of Napoleon Dynamite. Do you remember Napoleon Dynamite at the end? His brother has the chick that shows up, and she's like she's like a big tall black woman, and of course his brother is like little skinny nerdy kid. They end up getting married, I think. Her name's La Fonda.
I remember that. I remember La Fonda. That's a movie I've only watched once. I probably need to go back and watch it again to appreciate maybe some of the one-liners in there.
Lots of one-liners. Lots of them. Like the Uncle Rico stuff.
Yeah.
Bet I can throw a football over those mountains. But the movie itself is just strange, man. It's a very strange movie.
What year did Napoleon Dynamite come out?
I'm going to guess. Let's throw out a guess and then look it up, okay?
Okay. I'm going to say it's longer ago than what we think.
Oh, okay. I was going to say like 07. What do you think?
Ooh. I was going to go like... Ooh.
I know.
Yeah. I'm going to say 2011.
2004.
2004. So right around then, I've got 3 kids, all aged 10 and under, and that was the type of movie at the time that everybody was watching it, everybody was talking about it. They're like, "Oh, you got to watch Napoleon Dynamite." I remember watching it, going, "Okay, that was funny," but now, looking back, I probably didn't appreciate it. I should probably go back and watch it because I probably like it a lot more.
I mean, again, interesting movie. Maybe I'm not sure you would, Trev.
Really?
I'm not sure you would. There's a good possibility you would watch it and go, "This was popular." I've done that with really, really, really popular movies. I've gone back and like, "Eli, you're gonna love this movie," and you pop it in, and you're like, "Where's the funny? Where's the funny?" Anyway, I like Napoleon Dynamite. Didn't mean to knock on it, but yeah, fun.
Because in my reels, as I scroll every now and then, some Napoleon Dynamite pops up, and I'm like, "Oh, I forgot how funny that line was, and just how quirky he was." Because we all knew somebody like that in high school, right? Just like, So, okay, flip a coin. Maybe some night I'll turn on. Maybe I won't.
Okay.
Okay. I mentioned I'm drinking out of the Rush Radio mug, and I got an email this morning saying, hey, where do I find a mug? Where do I find a T-shirt? You can go to therushradio.com, click on the merch tab, and you can find all the merch you want there. You can customize it. You can get any color you want when it comes to sweatshirts and shirts and hats and stuff like that. So, again, therushradio.com, click on the merch tab. You'll be ready to go. Coming up later on in the show, Beth Goetz is going to be joining us. She's the athletics director at the University of Iowa. Full disclosure, this is a recorded interview, and this happens every once in a while. We like to do our interviews live. We prefer to have them live if that's possible, but sometimes it's not, much like Kirk Ferentz. They say, hey, this is my time frame, and this is when we can do it. Beth could do it on Friday morning. In fact, it was right after the show. Ross wanted to stick around, but he's like, fishing, Beth Goetz. Fishing, Beth Goetz. And totally understand why, because that was your last day on the island. But Beth and I had about a 25-minute conversation and some good stuff. I think I asked some good questions, but you're going to hear a lot about the landscape of NIL.
I'll be the judge of that.
Yeah, I know you will be the judge. And you'll be like, why didn't you follow up here? And I always do that with interviews. I'm like, because I go back and watch them, I'm like, oh, why didn't I follow up right there? And because you when you're listening, you think you hear something, but you want to make the most of your time too, because you got to be respectful because they're on a time crunch, so you want to get some other questions in. But for the most part, I thought she was pretty transparent. There's some things you can't go too deep in on, but it was her first time on, and she said she wants to come back, Ross. Okay. So that's good. Yeah. So I think Beth Goetz will be joining us again. So that's coming up at 7:00 right here on the Rush Radio Show, powered by Willis Automotive. Got a text yesterday from Brooks Reynolds. Of course, Brooks is a busy guy. He's got the fair right around the corner. Can you believe we're just like 3 or 4 weeks away from the fair?
I've been doing the math on summer a lot lately. Yeah, it's going real fast. We're racing up on it.
A picture of Sean Gamble. Sean Gamble was drafted by – who was he drafted by? KC. He was drafted by KC. Sean, did you know, or Ross, did you know this kid was from Iowa? He's like, hey, great local kid. And I'm like, who is this kid?
Well, dude, this is what happens with baseball. I mean, no is the answer to the question. No. The baseball players fly under the radar. There's not a lot of media attention about the great baseball players. I mean, several Iowa kids got drafted. I saw a kid that has played his USSSA U-Trip. He got drafted. They were posting and very proud of that, obviously. I think weren't there three kids from Iowa drafted?
Yeah, Cade Obermeyer from Iowa. The pitcher from Iowa went in the second round, and he had Titan Sean Gamble. He played all 4 years of his high school ball at IMG Academy in Florida. So you have the local kid who says, well, I'm going to try to improve my stock value, which it worked. He went in the first round of the Royals, but he takes off and goes to IMG Academy. And when you do that, when you're out of sight, out of mind. If you leave when you're a freshman, yes, some of the U-Trip people made, and you become basically a Floridian, nobody's really going to know who you are. That's always a big gamble too, right? I mean, that's a heavy financial investment to go to IMG Academy. I think it's like $50,000 a year or something like that. And
paid off.
Yeah, it paid off. Now, that doesn't happen for everybody.
Brian Duax just sent us that Joey Oki from Centennial got drafted by the Indians. Dude, but Travis, it's great that these kids get drafted, but you're asking, do we know about them? Or there's just not a lot of media about high school baseball. Really, high school sports, high school football and high school basketball get a little bit of love, right? If a kid is a superstar standout, we're going to find out about them when they're in high school. But baseball, that's really rare.
Why is that, do you think? Why?
I think, Travis, that the payoff rate is so low in baseball. Meaning, just don't know. There's just so many things that have to fall your way. And we've all seen it with great baseball players. The chips just don't fall for them. The opportunities aren't there. When they get the opportunities, the ball doesn't fall for them, and then they never. So I don't know. I think that's it. I think that's why we don't care as much about the MLB draft, because there's way more misses. We end up not. I mean, you can go back to the picks, and you'll know a handful of those names. You go to the NBA, you're gonna know the top 10 picks. Even the busts are guys that were talked about, and it's just not the same with high school with the baseball draft. And I think that's because maybe that'll change, Trav. But as I'm thinking about this out loud, the opportunities have diminished in Major League Baseball, in professional baseball. We've eliminated a whole bunch of minor league spots. So maybe that hit rate will go up now. A guy gets drafted, he's in the minor leagues, he's able to stand out in those minor leagues and move through the system. We've seen it with a lot of guys. I mean, there's rookies in the All-Star game, right? And we've seen a lot of good young talent get their opportunity. Maybe this will change. Maybe seeing guys make a quicker impact on the major league roster will make us pay attention a little bit more to the Major League Baseball draft. But my thought on it right now is we don't care as much. I've been burned. I remember when the Yankees drafted Brian Taylor. Most people won't remember that name. He was going to be the next Nolan Ryan. Left-handed dude, amazing. Got in a bar fight. I think he broke his hand or hurt his arm in a bar fight, if I remember right.
Well, where the draft has changed quite a bit, especially for high school kids. It used to be, if a high school kid went in the top 10 rounds, he would for sure take that minor league deal and work his way up through the system. Now you get down to the 4th, 5th, even 6th round. A lot of those high school, you get a faster track to the major leagues. You come out of college, and Major League Baseball clubs have accepted college coaching, have seen the results that college players are getting. Don't be surprised. I'm not saying Kate Obermeyer is going to be a major league pitcher right away, but his track to the majors is probably going to be faster than if he would have come out during high school. So now you're seeing kids go 4th or 5th round, maybe 6th round. I'm going to go to college for a couple of years and go that route, because you can there's NIL money now, not a lot compared to football and basketball, but you can get paid and maybe hone your skill a little bit more than you can to get right into the system. And so the money, it used to be, and if you remember in the old days when the first round was all like high school kids, like high school kid. There are a lot of college players, and the college game has improved so much to where major league clubs accept those college kids as prepared for the next level.
And Trav, Eli had a baseball banquet last night, so I'm sitting there, and my buddy Joel sits down next to me, and he's like, "Of the top 10 draft picks were from the same high school." That's exactly what he said. How good were they?
Damn. How good was that high school team? Wouldn't want to play them. Wouldn't want to play them at all. Of course, the All-Star game is coming up. We got a little All-Star drama. I don't know if you heard about this, Ross, but the Phillies are sounding off on Major League Baseball. They're going off on Major League Baseball, and they're not happy because Major League Baseball, the Cubs had a pitcher drop out, and so they needed a replacement for that pitcher. And Major League Baseball selected Jacob Misiorowski from the Milwaukee Brewers. And Misiorowski has 5 Major League Baseball starts. He has thrown, 25 innings. And so young, but he throws hard. He averages like 99.3 miles per hour on his fastball and just throws gas, right? Well, the Phillies, they really thought Christopher selected, and the Phillies are saying, man, that's effed up. And they told The Athletic that it's effed up. Then they went in even deeper and said, Major League Baseball only cares about marketable players. Yeah, I mean, that happens. Now, full disclosure, Sanchez was offered, Ross, an all-star spot, but he said, hey, I can't pitch because of where he is in the rotation and everything. He goes, I'm not going to pitch, so therefore you can select me, but I'm not going to pitch. Now, all-star games are weird because you just got guys pitching maybe one inning, maybe a half inning at most. And the Phillies went ahead and gave Sanchez his $50,000 all-star bonus. They said, yeah, well, if you make the all-star team, it's $200,000, right, from Major League Baseball. But he had it written in his contract that if he made the all-star game, that he'd get a $50,000 bonus on top of his contract. The Phillies have gone ahead and given that, it's a very nice gesture, and not too many teams do that. But what are your thoughts about if a guy says, hey, I can't pitch, and you're a fill-in anyway, that they don't name you an all-star?
He was asked to be on the team, and he couldn't do it. This is silly. The conversation that I think is important with this is what everybody needs to decide what they think the all-star game is. Meaning, excuse me, is the all-star game, it can be like one of three things, I think. It can be a reward for the first half of the season. Who's the hottest player for the first half? It can be a reward for your the last year. Who was the best in the last year and a half of baseball? Or the third thing is it can just be who's the most famous. Who are the people? Who are the players that are driving the most attention right now? It's not statistically driven. There's something. There's an unseen factor here, an intangible that we can't quite describe. And they don't have the stats. Their numbers aren't there, but man, we want to watch them.
And I'm okay with that.
And to me, he falls into that. He falls into categories 1 and 3. He's had a good enough start to this season that if the All-Star game is a pause where you say, all right, the guys that have been the best in the first half, we want to give them a reward for that. He would fall into that category right here, right at that edge of like, all right, one guy's out, another guy's in. He's in that category. Sure. Nobody should be upset about that. And I think that third category too, he's a guy that's electric. There's a couple of dudes right now in this game whose names a lot of people don't know. They're throwing the ball 105 miles an hour. What?
People want to see that.
They want to see that. They want to see dudes go up there and just blaze from the mound. So I don't have any problem with it.
Yeah,
Again, I think it's kind of silly.
And I understand you have your teammates back. That's admirable.
Yeah, right.
That's admirable. But this always comes down: is it a stats-driven game or is it a popularity-driven game? And it's got to be a mix of both. Because at the end of the day, the fans matter the most, right? And so when you go off and, Major League Baseball only cares about who's the most marketable, who has the most social media hits, who has, yeah, they do care about that. And for good reason. They need to market the game. They want to grow the game. And that's part of it. And that's the changing landscape that we live in, not just in Major League Baseball, but all of sports, right? And I'm listening to the Christine Brennan book about Caitlin Clark, and I'm in the chapter now how the WNBA did not see the rush that was happening because they knew she wasn't the best player. They didn't understand the marketability of it. And Major League Baseball is going back going, oh, this guy's marketable. This guy is somebody that people want to watch.
And we're not trying to oversell it. Major League Baseball is not trying to oversell it. They're not saying you show Shohei Ohtani or Aaron Judge, that people are veering off the road to watch this guy. He's the last guy that was an alternate from the guy that turned it down that couldn't pitch. What are we talking about? Is he good? Is he good? Yeah, he's really good. He's really good. Is he getting dudes out? Yep. Is he electric? Yeah. Fun to watch? Yes. That's why he wasn't. That's why he wasn't a unanimous first team. Right? We're talking about the alternate to the guy that turned down. Yes. I'm the dude playing a dude who thinks he's another dude.
Very good. That's the best way to say it. 515-517-2303. Again, Beth Goetz, the University of Iowa Athletics Director, going to join us at 7 o'clock. That is a pre-recorded interview, just full disclosure on that.
And Trav, we should remind people, because it does sound like there's still some technical difficulties. Download the TuneIn app, because people are saying that they're seeing that and they're having no problems on the TuneIn app. No, it's not perfect, but it's probably a StreamYard issue. One of the softwares that we're using. We're seeing things fine.
And I'm hearing you fine. Seeing you fine. So it's and I do know that StreamYard's done a number of. The company was recently sold, and they've done a number of software updates.
How dare they? How dare they? They didn't consult us.
How dare they? Yeah, can you believe that? Yeah, how do you not consult us? It is the Rush Radio Show.
The Rush Radio is now on the free TuneIn app, allowing you to enjoy the show on Apple products and Android Auto. Download the free TuneIn app and search the Rush Radio to take Travis and Ross wherever you go.
Your house wasn't built for bats, birds, or raccoons, but try telling them that. At Bats and Bugs Pest Solutions, we've been helping Iowans take back their homes for over 20 years. Friendly methods to solve wildlife and pest problems the right way. Whether it's bats in your attic, birds in the vent, raccoons in your chimney, or moles in your yard, we have long-term solutions. Call Bats and Bugs Pest Solutions today at 515-218-3400 and their home.
The Royal Mile, where everyone's a wee bit British. The Royal Mile is downtown Des Moines' living room with classic pub favourites. Pair them with a glass of whiskey or an expertly poured Guinness. Royal Mile, a proper British pub.
There's always something new at Fong's Pizza. The patio is open and ready for you, your friends, and an ever-changing menu of tiki drinks. Or try our new noodle dishes alongside your favorite slice. It's all happening this summer at the new Fong's in the East Village.
Thinking about buying a home? Get pre-approved in 30 minutes with Gary Presnell at Northwest Bank in Des Moines. Gary offers first-time home buyers programs, VA, FHA, IFA, and conventional loans. Call Gary at 515-975-6767. Bank. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
You know, Brian, at Central City, we really do have the best selection around.
I know. High-quality stuff. You can't find anywhere else.
Whistle Pig Plantation Rum.
Yeah, and over 150 of the best scotches on earth.
And a ton of bitters, mixers, and more.
You know what we are? High class.
Definitely high class. Yeah.
Okay, maybe medium class.
Central City Liquor is home of the 10% cash coupon.
And the Wooden Nickel program.
Here at Willis, we are proud to offer Rhino Lining Spray and Bed Liner. When you need protection without compromise, choose a professionally applied Rhino Lining Spray-On Liner. Only offered by authorized and trained Rhino applicators like us. Willis Chevrolet trusts Rhino Lining's quality, strength, and durability to protect every new truck we sell from abrasion, corrosion added to any make and model truck, even if you didn't buy it from us. Schedule online or give us a call to get yours done today.
There's a new spin on casual dining near Drake University. Lucky Horse Beer and Burgers. Craveable faves, flatbreads, delicious burgers, frozen cocktails, and a crazy cool vibe. Get to Lucky Horse Beer and Burgers today.
The best bread is made from scratch, freshly baked with locally sourced ingredients and love. At Big Sky Bakery, we take great pride in our delicious products. We know you'll enjoy them almost as much as we enjoy baking them. Find us at the downtown Des Moines Farmers Market every Saturday.
Gone. Travis and Ross aren't contagious, but they are addictive. It's the Rush Radio Show, powered by Willis Automotive.
Welcome back to the Rush Radio Show, powered by Willis Automotive. Good to have you here on a Monday. I woke up Saturday morning and I had a smile on my face. Had a big smile on my face Saturday morning. John had reached out to me on Instagram, Ross, and goes, "Hey, I got a fox underneath my porch. Can you give me the contact information to Bats and Bugs?" And I was more than happy to oblige. And it brought a smile to my face because the dude had a fox under his porch, and the first thing he thought of was Rush Radio Show. They've got somebody to solve that problem. That's Corey over.
I got a similar phone call or a text last week up in Canada. Listener of ours, friend of mine, a real estate client, Mr. Lopez, down in on the south side, sent me a text. And he was like, "Hey," I think the text was something like, "Is Corey from Bats and Bugs legit?" or something like that. I was like, "Oh yeah, why?" He's like, "Oh, you've used him?" I'm like, "I haven't used him, but I know him. I've met him many times. He was a truly wonderful guy, and I promise he'll help you out." So
I always follow the conversation up with this. Make sure you tell Corey you heard about him on the Rush Radio Show.
I needed to get better at that. Like the fishing thing. You told me that you had people say to you, "Man, after watching Ross up there last week, I think I want to go fishing." It's like, "Hey, Ballards."
Well, because you paid for the trip.
I'm advertising you.
Yeah, you're advertising for you. You had Gary, commandeered the microphone.
That was
took
great.
5 minutes. It was, the people who advertise on the show, and because, thank you so much that was the first thing you thought about, because at the end of the day, I mean, our sponsors are what allow us to do this and come to you every single morning, and we appreciate that. And I'm glad that John woke up and said, "Man, I got a fox." That would scare the crap out of me. I mean,
Fox wouldn't. Fox wouldn't scare me as much as, I don't know why. I don't. What's going through my head right now? Why am I more scared of like a raccoon? I think even again, squirrel in a phone booth. I don't want to mess with that. But a fox is way more. Wouldn't a fox murder both of those things?
Probably. And can a fox catch a squirrel? What do foxes feed on? What animals run from the fox? Because if you see a fox that's hungry, it's looking for food, I don't know what a fox feeds on. I'm when it comes to my wildlife, squirrels
and rabbits, hamsters, raccoons, guinea pigs, gophers. Yeah, they're badasses. They kill the stuff I'm scared of.
Yeah. So the fox is keeping the fear out of your life.
That's
what it's doing.
Yeah. I don't know. Did Disney fool me with Fox and the Hound? Do I have a softer impression of foxes?
Maybe.
Foxes.
What is the plural of because deer is deer, right? You don't say deers. Like I saw some deers running. Is just, hey, there's a pack of fox. Is that what we say? Or what is the plural of fox? I think it's just fox. That's
foxes. Foxes.
Isn't it?
Foxes.
It is. Huh.
We're so dumb.
We are dumb. But this is the stuff they should teach in school. The plural of fox was foxes.
A pack
plural of deer.
Oh.
Here comes the rabbit hole. Here comes the rabbit hole.
A group of foxes is commonly called a skulk or a leash.
Oh,
but it's funny. I don't ever think I've seen a pack of foxes. You always see foxes out on their own.
Tyler's saying, is it a den of foxes or is it a pack?
It says while pack is sometimes used, it's more typically associated with other canines like wolves. A skulk or a leash is the correct term for a pack of foxes. But skulk is sweet. I like that. That's cool.
Dude from Iowa asking a very good question, and that is, how did the word fox become a term for hot chicks? Because you're like, oh, she's a fox.
But so did chick. How did fox become a term for hot chicks?
How did chicks become a term for women?
And what do you wenches even want us to call you? Guys will use anything as a euphemism for a woman.
They really will, because we're pigs.
Yeah,
we are the worst human beings on the face of the earth.
Anything. You could pick anything. Like, oh man, she had good baskets on her. And every guy's like, yeah, I know what you mean. Should have seen her headlamps. Name it. You can pick anything.
Why we're going down rabbit holes, can I ask you a question?
Fire away, buddy.
Because this is bothering me. Little things bother me. My wife's always like, why do you let stuff like this bother you? When you look at Eli right now, what is he at Roosevelt? Is he a sophomore?
Going to be heading into a sophomore season, yep.
Okay, but he do you call him a sophomore now? As soon as he was done with his freshman year, do you say he's a sophomore?
Sure. I guess
I'm on this parents group for where Greta's going to go to school, and I'm seeing this all over the place. And I don't know when this term started because I'm kind of flabbergasted by it. But it bothers me, and it gets under my skin, and it like ruins my day. Hi, everybody. My rising sophomore or my rising junior. I'm like, what is this? It took me like 4 weeks to figure out because they're rising. I'm like, what is this rising thing? I've never heard of this. And then it took me, oh, you're going to be a junior. You're going to be a senior. Why do you got to put the term rising in front of it? I don't understand.
It's just that's taking over the term incoming. I don't know. Yeah, and I'm with Anjanette on this. Why would that?
I don't
bother
know
you?
why it does. It just does.
I have things like that too, Trav. I have things like that too that bother me, and I have to stop and really wonder, like, why am I reacting this way to this thing? Why does that bother us when people use stupid words?
Yeah, it's like you got to add some clarification, and it's like my rising, and my rising junior is really concerned about her closet size. She's going to live in a dorm. This is dorm life. This is college life. Figure it out. Don't worry about it. Stop helicoptering. But I have to sign this little thing that says you won't be mean. You're part of this group. Well, I want to be mean. I want to be really, really mean.
Get kicked out. That's the best thing for you. It'd be better for your mental health. You would feel better about telling people how you feel. You might actually change some behavior in there if you said, "Hey, I hope you all know how stupid you all are." You're setting your kids up for failure. You spent how much on your kid's dorm room?
And they're a rising sophomore?
Quit using stupid language. That I just one time screenshot it, hit post, and then screenshot your banned from the group, and it's content.
Sorry, you're no longer allowed to be part of the 2029 parents group of SCAD. Fine. I've never had a site that gives me so much comedy and so much anxiety at the same time. Like
every parent group is like this. We could, if people wanted to stay anonymous and just call in, I guarantee you we could hear about every single community, every one of them.
Well, you work in real estate. The Nextdoor app is like that's the Alice Kravitz of real estate in neighborhoods.
There was a deal in Des Moines that went south because of the Nextdoor. What's it called? The neighborhood app.
I think it's Nextdoor. Yeah,
Nextdoor. That's the name of it. Yeah, dude. This happened about 5, 7, 10 years ago in that range when the Nextdoor when that app was very, very popular. Man, it was like a deal on Ingersoll or Grand here on the west edge of town, where a commercial real estate deal was going to go down, and the people in the community got wrong word started firing off on the app about how mad they were about this group coming to town. And it ended up being completely wrong. And the guy that actually bought the building looked at it, was going to buy the building, looked at this and said, I don't want to be I don't want to be around these people. And back
for him.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah. And Tyler asks a really good question. Who's Alice Kravitz?
She was from, I believe, the show Bewitched. Showing my age here.
That's a black and white show, Travis. Travis, Bewitched was a black and white show.
It was. And she was the nosy neighbor in Bewitched. It was color by the end of its run, but it started as black and white. You would be correct. Come on, you watch MeTV. You didn't.
I watched Nick at Night. You know what Nick at Night was?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Nickelodeon, when they would play old-time TV at night, Nick at Night.
And Christopher Meharry is correcting me. It's Gladys Kravitz, not Alice.
Gladys. Okay.
Gladys.
Okay. I didn't know that name
Alice.
either.
Yeah.
I remember Bewitched.
Elizabeth Montgomery, super hot.
But dude, in my head, I dream of
first boner as a kid to Elizabeth Montgomery.
I did not, as a matter of fact. Alyssa Milano. The Bewitched and I Dream of Jeannie are one show in my mind. I know they were two completely different things, but were they? And in my head, they're all it's a amalgamation of those two.
I Dream of Jeannie, another boner show.
Could I name any show that you wouldn't say was a boner show?
Probably. Name one. I'll tell you if it's a boner show.
Married with Children.
Oh, boner show.
Cheers.
No.
Really?
No, not a boner show.
Okay.
Not a boner show.
MASH.
Not a boner show.
Okay.
Hot Lips was not that hot. Loretta Swift was not hot to me.
Yeah. I found out over the weekend, we had a little family gathering. My uncles came to town, and your Johnny Austin was over. And we were talking about, I know what happened. The song, a song played that reminded me of a TV show from the 90s. And I was talking with Ryan Austin. I was like, man, what was that show? It was kind of a MASH type of show. And Johnny was standing there, and Johnny said, Ross, did you know that when I was in the service, I was in a MASH unit? I was like, no way. And he goes, yeah. He goes, it was actually very similar to that show. We used a lot of that same equipment. And then, Nancy was standing there, and Nancy goes, he was the one chasing Hot Lips Houlihan. And I said, I would have been the one pretending to be a woman to get out of there.
You would have been Klinger.
I'd have been Klinger. Yeah. I can show him I'm crazy. That's what I got to do to go home.
Somebody said, Roseanne, not a boner show. No, wasn't a boner show.
Okay, good. I wanted to make sure that there was a line somewhere. I thought Cheers. I thought for sure Cheers, you'd be like, oh, Kirstie Alley. Ugh.
No. But they didn't sexualize her that much.
You're right. You're right.
Who was Frasier's wife? She was kind of hot.
Lilith?
Yeah, Lilith was hot.
What?
Yeah.
She was horrible.
No, she might have been the hottest one in the show.
She was awful. She was a horrible human. And then cheated on Frasier.
Yeah. But I looked past that. I just looked at her,
I hated Lilith.
Oh. You had the IndyCar races at the Iowa Speedway this weekend. I didn't watch yesterday's race. I watched Saturday's race, Ross. Watched the whole thing. It was a good race. I put a tweet out there about the crowd. I was very disappointed in the crowd at Iowa Speedway on Saturday. Again, didn't see Sunday's race, so I don't know if it was bigger but you had a beautiful weekend, an absolute beautiful weekend. And I was talking to Mick and Lisa in Stanton, and we were talking about the race. And he's like, I really do believe those concerts brought a lot of people in. Hy-Vee, when they sponsored it, would bring in these really big shows. But when you bring on those big shows and you had 4 really big headliners, that's a lot of money. I mean, that's a lot of money, and your return on investment may or may not be there. And I would most likely say probably wasn't there when you're bringing in Ed Sheeran, Tim McGraw. I mean, those are big names to bring in. right? But what would you rather have, pack stands or the biggest name in IndyCar, and which was really good racing, and nobody's there to see it?
I mean, Trav, the bottom line is what's going to matter here, right? Where did they make more money? I'm with you that I think that the right way to do it was last year. Bring in these huge acts and stars, make it an event. I love racing. The racing is not enough to get 50,000 people to go to Newton. NASCAR will be.
Yeah, NASCAR's sold out. I went on the Iowa Speedway website today. NASCAR's already sold out. They have a concert. I forget who's playing. Not a huge name, but a big enough name that people go, oh, I'll go watch him, right? And I don't think you need a pre- and post-race concert like they were doing at Iowa Speedway for the IndyCar races. I think you need something to make it memorable and make it an event to go just besides the racing.
Yes, it's got to be an event, Travis. The IndyCar racing is not enough, and having the NIL stuff. We talked with the general manager of the track about that. It was a really cool idea. I thought that was going to be. I didn't. We should have known that wasn't going to be enough to necessarily draw out people. But it was a really cool thing to do. It was a neat little tie. They did Iowa State on Saturday. They did Iowa on Sunday. But you look back on it, and I think there would have been a much better return on bringing in one of those big acts. Who knows? Again, the bottom line is they will know. They know today whether or not it was a good move or not, right? And we will know whether or not it was a good move by what they do going forward. And if next year they come out and say, "Hey, here's the weekend of IndyCars in Iowa, and here's the acts that are showing up," and dude, it was bad. The shots of it, the visuals of it looked like practice.
Yes. It was like, I'm like, where is everybody?
Even yesterday, Travis, the center few sections were pretty much filled up. And outside of those center few sections, it was a splatter paint of fans across the grandstand.
But you bring up a good point, and that is the racing alone is not going to get people to go.
It's great racing.
It was
really good racing. The drivers all love it. It's there's got to be more to get people to Newton, Iowa. Thousands of people.
They got 80,000 people there last year over 2 days. There's no way 80,000 showed up, which is disappointing. I mean, you had the NXT race, you had the two NTT races, which is not common. You had. Does it help or hurt that these races are on television? Because the main races were on Fox both days. And I'm like,
Trav, are you suggesting they should black out?
No, because I don't think that's fair. Because I think the television exposure is good. You get to see the track, but then when you're watching on Saturday, you're like, why aren't people here? It can be good and bad. Two things can be true at the same time.
Okay, but you got to pick one. In this situation, you've got to pick one.
I'm going to take the TV time.
Because the answer to your question is yes. Is having it on TV and having it readily available on Fox, does that affect people from Des Moines driving over to Newton to watch it? Yeah, because you don't have Ed Sheeran and Tim McGraw and Post Malone or whatever it is that's going to make you take that 45-minute drive over to Newton, buy the ticket price, go through the parking. You're going to have a great event. You're going to see some great racing. You're going to have a really fun time. If it's free and available in your living room, you've got to overcome a lot more. Then now it's really got to be an event. It's got to be something cool. So yeah, it hurts it to have it on TV in the local area. I'm with you. You've got to have the TV thing.
Well, and look what else was going on. Ankeny had its big celebration this weekend, right?
I was there last night for the fireworks show.
Hell, I think there were more people at the Pork Tornadoes concert in Ankeny than there were at the Iowa Speedway. I mean, it was that packed for the Pork Tornadoes as they played, I think, Saturday night. And yeah, it's just, but the big thing is to remember, we talk about it all the time. People want memories, they want events. And usually the event outside the main event is usually the attraction. If it's just going for the racing, probably not enough.
It's hard to draw people over there just the racing. You're going to get the crowd that you got for the racing. And again, we love racing in Iowa. We just love all types of different racing. We have sprint car racing fans, and we have F1 fans. And the weird thing about a lot of racing fans, unfortunately, Travis, is they are compartmentalized. Kind of like, when I was fishing last week, I was telling you about Mike. Mike's a muskie fisherman. He likes to fish for muskie. He'll go fishing for walleye, but man, he wants to go fishing for muskie. That's how racing fans are. I'm a huge sprint car racing fan. Love going down to Knoxville. That's my favorite type of racing. Guys are going 120 miles an hour and do a U-turn on the dirt. It's freaking awesome. And then the other stuff, yeah, I'd watch it. Right? And so if you've got that group of fans, you've got to get a draw over there. And they know this. I'm not, they know this. It's hard. This is a tough question. And this is why that track has kind of stayed on that verge of like success. Can we sustainability type of thing? Because what do? Do we put all of our eggs into that basket of entertainment? Go out there and get the Ed Sheerans and the Tim McGraws of the world. And then cross our fingers and go, God, if this doesn't pay off, we're done. Or do you do it like this? All right, we're going to play it conservative. We're going to do some things, do some local draws with the community.
Well, and you're asking
easy to sit back and be critical of it. It's hard to be in those decisions.
And I don't want to be critical of NASCAR. I think we did our part to promote that race.
Absolutely.
We had 2 drivers on. We had the general manager on. We understood the significance of it. That was the 18th straight year, I believe, IndyCar had been at the Iowa Speedway. And sometimes when you have NASCAR right around the corner for its second year at the Iowa Speedway, they're sold out. Well, that's still the pinnacle. I mean, it's not Formula One, which is very, very popular now, but NASCAR it's still NASCAR. And that newness of NASCAR, you're like, oh man, I'm going to go watch the Cup drivers, as opposed to the Indy drivers where you see every single year. And in the past, IndyCar racing at Iowa Speedway has been, once you got in the lead, you had to really screw it up to lose the lead. It was just like
follow the leader.
This year's racing was a lot of fun. And then you had the red flag with about 13 laps to go in Saturday's race, which added even more intrigue to it. Joseph Newgarden, I think, led like 245 of the 275 laps and still didn't win. I mean, that would be gut-wrenching, right? When you lead that whole time and you're like, I didn't win the race.
Trav, you think there's any you like this? Darn it, I always do that. Let's get this back up here for Frank. I think NASCAR is learning that you can overuse a track. Once the fans stop coming, you have to move the race to a new track for a while. And I think IndyCar might have run its course in Iowa for now. Is that possible? That maybe a slight change? I mean, I love the IndyCar. I've got my little Iowa Speedway IndyCar trophy back here. I love it. Is that something that?
I mean, maybe, but boy, you never want to let it go in the fear that it never comes back, right? Because like, how long does that absence need to take place? 2 years, 5 years,
that's
10
true.
years?
And if you let it go, do you ever get it back?
Yeah, that's the big thing. When you've had something 18 years, and who stood by you even when the track was in bad financial situation? It was IndyCar. Was it NASCAR? 515-517-2303. When we come back, Beth Goetz, the athletics director at the University of Iowa, going to be joining us. And we'll hear from Beth Goetz next on the Rush Radio Show, powered by Willis Automotive.
The Rush Radio is now on the free TuneIn app, allowing you to enjoy the show on Apple products and Android Auto. Download the free TuneIn app and search The Rush Radio to take Travis and Ross wherever you go.
Your house wasn't built for bats, birds, or raccoons, but try telling them that. At Bats and Bugs Pest Solutions, we've been helping Iowans take back their homes for over 20 years. We use cost-effective, eco-friendly methods to solve wildlife and pest problems the right way. Whether it's bats in your attic, birds in the vents, raccoons in your chimney, or moles in your yard, we have long-term solutions. Call Bats and Bugs Pest Solutions today at 515-218-3400, and let's make sure your home doesn't become their home.
Hey there, I'm Jake Schneider, Service Supervisor here at Willis Nissan. With summer heating up, now is the time to make sure that your vehicle is ready for the road. This July, we're offering 10% off coolant exchanges to make sure that your engine is running cool, and 10% off fuel air inductions to make sure that your Nissan engine is performing at its absolute best. And for veterans, we're taking off an additional 5% for a total of 15% off as our way of saying thanks. So stop on in or schedule online at willisnissan.com.
The largest selection of German beer in the world? You'll find it at the Hessen House. From Doppelbocks to Oktoberfest to Hefeweizens and Dunkels, there's no passport needed for the deliciously different beer and food at the Hessen House. So grab your friends and make it a fun night out. The Hessen House, 4th and Court, Des Moines.
You know, Brian, at Central City, we really do have the best selection around.
I know, high quality stuff you can't find anywhere else.
Whistle Pig Plantation Rum.
Yeah, and over 150 of the best scotches on earth.
And a ton of bitters, mixers, and more.
You know what we are? High class.
Definitely high class, yeah.
Make way for the natty.
Okay, maybe medium class.
Central City Liquors, home of the 10% cash coupon.
And the Wooden Nickel program.
Back like a rash you thought was gone. Travis and Ross aren't contagious, but they are addictive. It's the Rush Radio Show, powered by Willis Automotive.
Hour number 2 of the Rush Radio Show, powered by Willis Automotive. Good to have you along. If you're watching on YouTube, things seem to be better now, which is good. Give this video a like, hit that subscription button, and start leaving your comments in the comments section. If you're listening on the Rush Radio Show.com or the TuneIn app or the Rush Radio app, thank you so much. Good to have you there. Lots of listeners on there this morning. I'm Travis Justice. He's Ross Peterson. Last week, we had or I guess I did because Ross was fishing, had the privilege of sitting down with Beth Goetz from the University of Iowa. And the reason she had to record is because she's on vacation this week. This is like vacation time. And
I mean, nobody's surprised. All of their schedules are very tight. I think we talked about it with the Kirk Ferentz interview, Travis. You had requested Kirk Ferentz months ago, and they basically said his summer is full. And then on a Tuesday, we got a call that said he's got a window on Thursday. Do you want it? And that's how this worked. They were like, "You want to talk to Beth Goetz at 8:00 on Friday or not?" So, Travis, thank you so much for doing it.
Yeah, I wish you would have been there. But when you see this, just know that I'm not wearing the same clothes. But it's still what I think is an insightful conversation with Beth Goetz. And so now it is our conversation with Beth Goetz this morning on the Rush Radio Show, powered by Willis Automotive. First of all, welcome to the Rush Radio Show. It's good to have you on here for the very first time.
Well, thank you so much for the invite. I've been looking forward to it and excited to get the first one under our belt. Hopefully, we'll do well enough. I get invited back.
Oh, you'll be invited back many, many times. It's just whether or not the gatekeepers go, yeah, she can do it this time or not, right? We all have gatekeepers.
That's for sure. That's for sure.
Hey, I started, I've got a lot to talk about, but I started reading the book On Her Game, the Caitlin Clark book. And I want to know if you got an advance copy of that. Have you started reading it or have you seen it? Because I'm going to tell you, I'm through like chapter 4, and it couldn't be a better advertisement for the University of Iowa and the University of Iowa Athletics and the University of Iowa women's basketball team.
You know what? I don't have an advance copy. Christine Brennan's going to be actually on campus doing a little bit of a promo with the book, and I know Lisa Bluter and Jan Jensen are going to be there as well. So, but I've heard she did an incredible job, and of course, all of that's a tribute to Caitlin. She's certainly given people enough to write about and has a great story. But she's been a great ambassador for the university, no doubt. So it's great to be able to obviously celebrate her and all she's accomplished, but also showcase the university and what athletics means here.
How much value, in the marketing world, we talk about paid media and free media. I mean, have you put a value on how much free media Caitlin Clark has brought the university?
Not in the aggregate, but what I would say is, our city did a little bit of that. We haven't, as a department, done that, but our city did a little bit of that during the snapshot of our last season, just in terms of the economic impact and people coming in to watch our games and those types of things. And it really is immeasurable. I mean, it's, interesting to talk about what those numbers, could be if you did that over the course of her time here and even post her time here with her jersey retirement and coming back with a fever, just a few months back. But it really, it's a phenomenon. And we can all, I think, at least in, your lifetime and mine, I think we start to put her in a very short list in terms of professional athletes across all sports, and the way that they've been able to impact such a broad base of individuals.
Yeah, we've talked about that. In my lifetime, I think it's Michael Jordan and it's Tiger Woods and Caitlin Clark. I mean, I think those are the three that really stick out, that are generational game changers, right? Just and that's elite status. And not everybody can get there. It takes a truly special human being to get there.
Yeah, no doubt. We have the same lifespan, my guess. So that's the same. That's the same group that I would have, and it is surreal though to think about how the opportunity some of us had to be so close, to see it up close and personal, and we all talk about. I mean, speaking of the other two, you talk about the one or two times maybe you had a chance to go to an event where you saw them compete, and by just great luck. Yeah, I get to be here and watch her play through a few seasons, and so it's just really remarkable.
All right, the big question is, how much has your life changed since July 1st? The House settlement is now fully enacted. Your department seemed to be pretty prepared for what was going to happen. Have you seen major changes? And how's your life been since July 1st?
Yeah, it's funny because we've all been waiting for the decision and obviously the implementation date and working on it for, you're probably talking 18 months. And of course, if we're all really honest in this industry, this has been coming for a long time and we were just very slow to act. But in some ways you get the final, I think you kind of thought it was a finish line. You're going to get to the finish line of all this prep work. It turns out it's kind of the starting line. You finally got to where you could get started. But in some ways it's a little anticlimactic, because I think the preparation was already in motion. I mean, it wasn't as if on that day you started creating revenue sharing agreements for student athletes. We'd been doing that. You just implement them, on that date. And so, for the most part, I think it was maybe a relief is what I would say in terms of knowing like, hey, we've started the next phase. Now, there's not a lot of, it's not that it's a clear path. There's no doubt about it. It's far, far from perfect. There's going to be many iterations, but at least a step into what the new era is going to look like, and at least a step towards what is going to be a more sustainable model for where college athletics needs to go, in my mind.
So one of the interesting parts is when it comes to the agreements outside of what the $20.5 million is that clearinghouse through Deloitte. Have you started running deals through there, and have any athletes been turned down by Deloitte yet?
So it's really interesting because athletes enter those deals, right? We educate and ask them to enter, but the institutions don't enter those deals.
Okay.
And so, us communicating and trying to remind them that, this is now a required obligation. And so it's not that we enter those deals. What? We have some visibility into the system and certainly on the culmination component, but you don't have necessarily visibility in every step of the process. So as of 2 days ago, I didn't check in after that. We've not had any denied. We had some that were still in process that we thought might not go through. But we haven't had any denied at this point. So, it's I wish there was another expression, because I think we all keep using the same one, which is they're really building this thing while they're flying it. And we don't have this very clear-cut, set of parameters just yet on what those are going to look like, and and that leads no doubt to confusion and anxiety and concern and all of those other pieces of the puzzle. So you just kind of have to trust, and I'm going to be optimistic because doing it the other way is not quite as much fun. That we're going to get through this a little bit, and we'll figure it out. But we've got some work to do, and I think part of that, we had sort of the delay in the judges' decisions, where you thought maybe that would happen back in April, and until we kind of got that settlement right, it put everything else on hold. In terms of finalizing rules, because those rules are part of the settlement, and there's a 30-day period that the plaintiffs have to sign off on those. So it's not, you can't snap your fingers and implement it all at once. And so I think we're seeing the effects of that right now.
Do you like that clearinghouse? Or is it just the best of a bad situation right now? I mean, because I'm a free market guy. Everybody goes, well, what are you worth? Well, whatever you're willing to pay me is what I'm worth. So I looked at that and like, $600. I mean, that's the tax line where you got to give them a 1099. And so I'm like, why do they have to $600 and more? I mean, I'm not a big fan of it. I just personally, are you a fan of a clearinghouse like that?
I don't know if I would necessarily talk about the mechanism, so whether the clearinghouse itself works, but I believe we need to work within a cap system. And I think, without that, we didn't need a settlement. I mean, so you either wanted to work within a system in which there were some parameters and, around what the total compensation for a school could be, or you could have lived in the world we've been living in. And so, I think there's, certainly open debate about, is this, again, do we have the right iteration? Is the cap number the right number? And how we do that. But I think in, a completely free market system without any rules, any parameters, I just think that's a little bit difficult to navigate and would be different than any other sports system in the world.
So right around July 1st, you guys launched the new initiative, and Brad Heinrichs is probably the most. He's on our show all the time. Brad's such a good dude, and he works his tail off, right? At Iowa State, Brent Bloom goes into the Learfield family and is going to run the collective from in there. A lot of people had questions about what's going to happen to the Swarm. Will it, kind of do that same thing? Will Brad still be active? What are your plans with the Swarm and how this interacts with everything you're going through within the athletic department?
Yeah, so Brad and I are kind of working together to try to see how all these rules play out. Slightly different than what what Iowa State did, mostly because of who Brad is. I mean, you're talking about a guy who's got an incredibly successful business. He's not going to come sit in an office here 8 to 5, and have us pay him whatever we pay him. So it's not exactly the same thing because of he's obviously very incredibly successful businessman, and so in that sense, they're just organized a little bit differently. And while he's got, Jane on his staff, who's worked in our office before, not to say there may not be a role at some point in time for somebody associated with the Swarm, but it wouldn't be him just because of what he does. What we've talked about is there's really two things, right? How do you generate, is there a mechanism for them to continue to generate resources? And, because we can also now do that philanthropically, we don't want to just split all of our donors. We need something additive, right? So it's not just taking our donors and taking half that now give to the revenue share pot and half that give to the Swarm. That doesn't make us better. So how do we generate some revenue that's additive to the pot, the collective pot? And then what's the permissible way to get the athletes the resource? And I think, even if you just watched and heard some of the news that came out yesterday from the CSC about how they were interpreting collective things, it's just really, really muddy. So At this moment in time, we don't know exactly how that would look. What they have been doing, even in this, short window of time, there's sort of a go-between some companies. So basically a pass-through, but it's a company is legitimately making the payment. They're just sort of using the Swarm to pass the money on to a student athlete. So, those types of things are, I think, important. So, for us, it's really just how do we continue? Is there an opportunity? And I mean, I think, I don't want to speak for him, but you've asked him, I'm sure, the same question. Brad will do anything he can to help the Hawks. He's demonstrated that over and over again for 2 years, and we're incredibly grateful. And if we can find, something that'll do that, we just, have nothing but gratitude that he's willing to step into that space.
You used the word cap earlier on, and at Big 12 Media Days, Mike Gundy, head coach at Oklahoma State, went on a podcast and he talked about, let's just say what we need to say. And I'm not saying you agree with this, but I'm going to ask you if you do. Let's just make players employees. That way they can collective bargaining. Then you can actually have a salary cap, not just for players, but also like incoming high school kids, because they shouldn't be just a free system with unproven ability on the field. Would you support athletes being employees of the university?
I think at this moment in time, first, what I would say is I don't know if we know enough about how you would implement that in higher ed. And so, if you've got, and I'm not a lawyer, but essentially there's there's sort of a test that you would subject people to. And so it's not like you can just pull out, Big 12 and Big 10 and SEC football players and say, hey, they're employees. If you pass the test and they determine that athletes are employees, that applies also to the D3 baseball kid, down the road from you. And can that be sustainable? And so it doesn't mean it's a reason not to do it. I just would suggest there's a lot of nuance that makes that, I think, pretty complicated from what we understood. I think if they get into it and, that's a method that we can get to, I'm not principally opposed, but to date, I don't know if we've heard enough information to understand how that could actually function and not hurt all sports at all levels. And to me, I just think, the experience of being a student athlete in any sport at any level is so valuable to those individuals, but also to society in general, because they go on to do great things. And I think that experience as an athlete's a great training ground that I don't think you don't want to harm that. What I do agree with Coach about is I think it's really important to continue to find ways, to incorporate a student voice. And so you got to figure out what that looks like. And I think, part of that student voice is, do they want to be employees? And to date, that's not what we hear locally, but I'm open-minded generally down the road. I don't think it solves everything today is what I would say.
Yeah, Ross and I talk about we think we come up with great ideas all the time, but you can even go back to the collectives, right? The unintended consequences of decisions, because nothing's ever perfect. And then when you make a decision, yeah, it looks good. Like when collectives came out, you're like, good idea. Then you saw what happened with the balloon. You're like, oh, that was an unintended consequence of,
right.
of a decision that's made, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And, I think there's unintended consequences with the settlement. There's no doubt about it, just like there would be in an employment model. It's really hard to always make great decisions because they're, when you're talking about such a broad level of impact, because every scenario is not different. It's not different. It's not the same in the Power Four, not the same across Division I, and certainly if we start looking out across every sport and every division, things look a lot different.
Of course, Big 10 Media Days for football just a couple weeks away. I'm sure this is going to be brought up, and that is the college football playoff model when it comes to expansion. There's a number out there. 5-11 seems to be gaining some momentum. Do you have a preference over a model for the college football playoff?
Yeah, I think as we've talked about it as a group of ADs in the Big 10, and certainly our commissioners spoken about this publicly, I think there's some things that I think are sort of critical to us as a group without necessarily, and of course the Big 10 is offered out some potential options and paths forward. But I think the things that are most important to us are we think the regular season needs to mean something. And so how do we continue to create value there? And certainly for a conference like the Big 10, but many of us, as they've expanded, that looks different in football. And so trying to figure out how to value that experience, I think, is important. I think we want to play really competitive games. And so we get to do that in the Big 10. But I think a way to encourage that across conference, you've got to have some shared principles about what those look like. So, that the shared agreement about how many conference games you're going to play, I think is important. In particular, if you're going to start comparing them apples to apples in a really subjective way with a committee. And I think trying to figure that out, and I've been on certainly not the CFP, but I've been on a selection committee before. And it's they're just really, it's a challenge. There's no perfect method. So trying to figure out how to get all of those things right, I think would be a big component to what our conference determines we're going to support at the end of the day.
Did you just do a nice way of saying the SEC needs to play 9 games?
Well, I'm not suggesting that. But I do think when you're using subjective measures to select, and something that is obviously incredibly important just from a passionate fan base standpoint, but when you're trying to determine who's the best, you just need to try to figure out how to narrow that down. And there was a lot of, I wish we were a part of that discussion last year. Of course, I think we had a good season, but not good enough to be in that discussion. But it was complicated last year. Now you're just talking about adding more and more at-larges. And so I don't think you jump into that and say, hey, we'll figure it out. I think you really would have to make some determinations of what, if you're going to do something like that, how do you best prepare a selection committee? How do you ensure that you're looking as best you can at teams that have had some similar play-in options along the way. So it's complicated. No doubt everybody's going to have their preferences, but we'll get to the right place eventually. It's probably going to take a lot more conversations, but again, we want the regular season to mean something. I can imagine the Big 12, the SEC, ACC feels that way too. We're all really deep, and none of us are playing everybody in our conferences anymore. And so even in your own league, it's hard to determine necessarily, who really is your third or fourth team if they haven't competed. So trying to get to the best solution there, I think, will be a key for everybody in the coming months.
So we're talking about college football playoff expansion. The NCAA is discussing basketball tournament expansion, 68, 72, 76. I'm a 68 guy because if you go to 72, 76, you're still going to have the same problems of people complaining they never got in and deserve to be in. Do you have a thought on the tournament expansion for basketball?
Yeah, I got to be honest here. I'm not overly convicted one way or the other. What I would say, I absolutely agree with you. And by the way, it's no different than the CFP, right? There's always going to be debate on who's in or out and what order they're in. So I don't think it solves that, to be sure. I do think in these leagues now that are larger, look how deep, the SEC was in men's basketball last year, for example. It gets complicated because their win-loss records in their own conference start to get diluted. And I think those days in college football or anywhere else where you see people just running the gamut and, coming out of a regular season 12-0, that's not going to happen as much anymore because you've got all of these talent aggregated in smaller conferences or bigger conferences. So, to that end, I think you want to have the best teams in the tournament. And so I can see that argument about how do you give an opportunity, whether that's a P4 team or a mid-major team to get in that might be, on the outside looking in. It's not going to be about, there's not a lot of revenue, I don't think, in this. This isn't about money. It's not about, additional TV dollars for additional games. It's just, can you figure out what the right, how to get the best teams in it. So we'll see how that plays out.
All right. Before I let you go, I got a 2-part question. And that is, do you go home at night and pinch yourself and go, man, I'm at the front row of history playing a huge part in a paradigm shift of college athletics? And the second part of that question is, you mentioned you're at the beginning. You now have to start looking at the future. What do you think the next big thing to college athletics is going to be that you have to prepare for?
Yeah. Well, the first thing, absolutely. I'm just incredibly grateful to have the opportunity to be a part of the conversation and obviously incredibly proud that I get to represent the University of Iowa. But I really like the way you asked the question, because it is about the moment in time and really taking personal pride, not in what I get to do, but what our team gets to do, about making sure we preserve this thing that, again, in our lifetimes have been so impactful to the athletes that have played, whether it's the all-star football player or some, average soccer player like me that had a great experience and it gave me an opportunity to get an education, I just think it's that important, and you want to make sure this great, uniquely American thing continues. And so you do, you try not to take that for granted every day. And that's, I think, we talk a lot about, at least with my team here, how do we make sure we see this as an opportunity to be at the table? Not like, oh, this is like such a challenge. How are we going to fix this? It's an opportunity to be at the table, to do something really cool, and a huge responsibility. So that's a lot of fun. In terms of what's next, it's really hard to think about that. I mean, you referenced employment. I mean, if that were to be determined to be the next thing by the courts, that would drastically alter what things look like. So, that could be a piece of the puzzle. We're at a moment, as we let off talking about Caitlin Clark, or women's sports are really taking off. And you've got a confluence of, you've had this in the highest revenue sports in terms of media exposure, but now, the media industry has changed so much. And so are there ways to leverage, women's sports or Olympic sports differently, and create unique events around this that just didn't exist, 15 years ago? Like for us, whether that's wrestling, how do you give that a unique platform in this day and age that probably just wasn't available when you were only looking at, hey, is there any way to get them on linear TV, right?
Yeah.
So I think that confluence of the entertainment industry sort of meeting, not just the pinnacle of college athletics and college football, but how that interfaces with other sports. I think we'll continue to see how that operates as well.
The key is you want to be proactive, not reactive in a lot of these situations, and try.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Can you be? I mean, it's always about, can you be thinking 3 or 4 moves down the road a little bit, and how nimble can you be? It used to be that old adage, right? Everybody has this, I've got this, 5-year, 10-year plan, and it's all mapped out. Those are, not that you don't need to be a visionary in that way, but you need to have guideposts that you can be nimble with, because the pace of change now is, every 6 months. And so how do you create something that is malleable enough that you're prepared for that next move, when there might be 4 options on the table? So it's a lot of fun, though.
Beth Goetz, you start off saying that you hope it's the first of many. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm inviting you back anytime, and a great conversation, lots of good information here, and we appreciate your time to joining us on the Rush Radio Show today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Ross?
Dude, great stuff. Great stuff, Trav. You killed it there, man. Those were great questions. Man, she gave us a lot. That's a lot of really good information.
So I noticed you were writing a lot during that. Let's take a break and come back, and we'll get your thoughts on the Beth Goetz interview, some of the things she said, because I know you were like, hey, can I just jump in with my questions? Because you had some questions there as well.
I didn't realize my mic was on, and I'm an active listener, as folks I think know, and so I'm sitting here like moaning and groaning, and you can hear my interest. And finally, I saw one of the guys like, is Ross lingering?
He was lingering.
Yeah.
But we'll get your thoughts on the interview when we come back on the Rush Radio Show, powered by Willis Automotive.
I'm loving these wooden nickels, Brian.
Yeah, I suppose everyone is catching on.
Just spend $20 to get a wooden nickel.
It's $25.
Collect 10 and add up the savings on your next purchase.
Some of these are worth $5. That could be huge.
I know, right? That's why you have to spend $20.
It's $25.
Collect 10. It's like money back to you.
Spend 20, you get another wooden nickel.
It's $25.
Collect 10 and add up the savings. It's huge.
Central City Liquors, home of the 10% cash coupon.
And the wooden nickel program.
It's huge. Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Mason Miller, sales manager out here at Willis Infinity. We got some great stuff going on this month. This month, we actually have 0% all the way out to 60 months on a brand new 2025 QX60 and 0% out to 36 months on both 80s, 50s, and 55s. Of course, we do offer loyalty still on the QX60s and 50s and 55s. For more information, visit us online at willisinfinity.com or see us in our showroom.
Missing a quality, home-cooked meal? You know, the kind Mom used to make? Lucky for you, we found her recipe book. Welcome to the High Life. Welcome to the Champagne of Bars.
Looking for the perfect golf escape? Experience links-style golf right here in Ames at Coldwater Golf Links. With rolling fairways, large greens, and unique routing, it's golf the way it's meant to be played. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, you'll love our course's welcoming atmosphere and friendly staff. Grab your clubs, book a tee time, and make every round unforgettable. Coldwater Golf Links, where great golf leads to great memories. Visit coldwatergolf.com to book your round today.
Is your vehicle in need of some summer cleaning this year? Come into Willis Chevy for your full detail today. For the month of July, we are offering a special of $249, and that includes the interior and exterior with a wax. Give us a call to get scheduled or do it online at willischevy.com.
Back to the Rush. Strong opinions, weak filters, and just enough sense to stay on the air. It's the Rush Radio Show, powered by Willis Automotive.
Welcome back to the Rush Radio Show, powered by Willis Automotive. If you missed any part of the Beth Goetz interview, it's going to be up on the YouTube channel in its entirety by itself, so you don't have to watch the entire 2 hours. You can go back and just watch the interview. That'll be up around 8:30, just to let you know. We do want to thank Beth Goetz for taking the time to sit down and have a conversation. Ross, you had your pen to paper. You were moaning and groaning. Thoughts on some of the stuff that she had to say? One thing that I was shocked about that I did not know was the clearinghouse, how athletes have to enter their deals and not the university.
That was my first little interesting sigh. When she said that, I'm like, oh, well, I got to start writing stuff down. That was my first thing of like, wait a minute, the athletes have to turn that into Deloitte. I thought it was the universities that were anyway. So I found that interesting also. And I guess, Travis, it does make sense to me that the athletes would be the ones responsible for that. But that was the first time I'd heard it or even thought about it. So I'm with you. That was interesting. You asked her that question. Do you like the do you like the current system? Do you like the do you like the salary cap? And she did a great job of a very political answer. She did a wonderful job of pivoting there and saying, I don't really want to talk about that. I don't want to give you my opinion on that. I want to talk about the cap system and the settlement. And that was her answer there was fantastic stuff. The thing that I think got brought up a few times when you asked her about the swarm, and then she mentioned some things during the swarm conversation that kind of got brought up again at the end of the conversation, and that is how forward thinking they have been at the University of Iowa. We kind of talked about this with Coach Ferentz too. This is something that I had wrong. I think most of us Hawkeye fans, as things started to change, let's go back about 5 to 7 years ago. Man, I was afraid that it was going to be like the offense and the athletic department was going to be stuck in the 80s and 90s and everybody was going to race past them in this changing world. It was the exact opposite. The Iowa athletic department did a wonderful job of predicting this stuff, staying ahead of it. Now, partly because the Big Ten did a good job of predicting this stuff and staying ahead of it and keeping themselves in a power position for all of that. But got to give credit to that Iowa athletic department, which Beth Goetz has been a part of, which Kirk Ferentz should definitely get some credit for whatever that is. Travis, I think what happened was they allowed themselves to release control. Say, all right, this isn't my area of expertise. I'm going to let other people handle this thing. But that's how you ended up getting a Cade McNamara. That didn't pan out the way that everybody hoped it would, but that's a big land. We had several big wins in the transfer portal world in that weird Wild West frame that we just got done with. And they deserve some credit for that. And then that got brought up again towards the end of the conversation when as just a generality, not even with the swarm, but just you talked about those unintended consequences and all that. But They've done a very good job of staying ahead of the curve here. And I think that they deserve credit for that. That was the best one, though, when you asked her about the employees and Mike Gundy. And then her comment to that was kind of the unintended consequences thing. Because that's funny. I wrote that down. And then you said, Ross and I always talk about unintended consequences. And you saw her go, acknowledge that and go, that's what we're talking about. All of this stuff has unintended consequences. And making them employees, while it seems like it could be a fix in some way, it's certainly not a cure-all. And with that will come lots of more problems.
One of my follow-ups should have been, as I was listening to that interview, and I didn't get to it, was, and we've talked about this, because she brought up the Division II, Division III players,
Yeah.
and you become employees. Well, to me, you just made the argument of why Division I major needs to split off and just be its own entity and work separately from Division II or FCS, Division II, Division III, because it's not as those. You're not going to get major NIL deals, and Division III, Division II is not bringing in revenue like the Big Ten is. I mean, let's talk. You talk about how Iowa's ahead of it. You give me one Big Ten school, one SEC school that has cried, "Hey, we're in trouble here." They are rolling in so much money compared to the Big 12 and the ACC that you don't hear any of these schools going, "Woe is me." They're all pretty much prepared for it. I recorded a podcast yesterday, Rob Zadiskin. I'm like, Nebraska's been quiet. They haven't said anything. You know why? Because they have tons of money. They're not worried about anything. It's people that don't have the big television deals and that are like, hey, how are we going to navigate this system? And I still think Iowa State and the Big 12 is going to be okay. I think the ACC is going to be okay. They just won't be as okay as the SEC and the Big 10 because the money is almost double. But when you throw Division II in the mix, Division III in the mix, and you say, hey, this is going to be universal for the NCAA, well, to me, that's where you go, okay, we're drawing a line. Sometimes you just have to draw a line and get away from the old system of, hey, we're all in this together.
And it's always been a lie. And it's a lie within it's currently not a lie that the Big Ten schools, they want to work together. And I love the stuff about the Big Ten too. She's smart. That's a smart lady. And she answered all of those questions with a couple things in mind. I'm just as reading a person. She was not just talking to us. Okay. She's got bosses. There are levels to this, right? We gotta talk about it all the time. There are levels to this. When you bring up the Big Ten, and I don't want to dismiss what she did. It was very smart. I'm not trying to say it was a tactic or anything like that. I mean, it was. There is a tactic here, but man, she goes the Big Ten talking points there. We want the regular season to mean something.
And that's why I followed up with, are you saying that the SEC needs to play 9 conference games?
Boom. So that's the Big Ten talking point against the SEC. We want the regular season to mean something. Then her second thing was, we also think that you should play competitive games. Who's that a shot against? Everybody below you. What I think that was is Beth Goetz doing what she has to do. She's an employee of the Big Ten. And they say these are the things that we're going with right now. And these are the things that we're pitching as a group. We play competitive games. Our regular season means something. These are the same. All those things that she said about the Big Ten are the things that Jamie Pollard would say about the Big 12, or the things that Greg Sankey or any big SEC coach would say about the SEC. It's what they have to do. That was a real Travis. Nice job, man. Tip of the cap, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of people saying, "Hey, she's riding the edge on some of these answers." That's what you have to do that, right,
guys? That's exactly what I'm saying. That's very political responses from her, but she gave us great information at the same time. That's that's the first time I've really seen Beth Goetz in a long form interview like that, Trav. I'm not saying I'm glad. I regret going fishing on Friday, but I do wish I'd been a part of that interview. You know what? No, I don't, because I only would have derailed it. I would have only asked stupid questions. And
Well, I mean, it was just. I thought you're right. The body, you could tell some with the body language, right?
Yeah.
When I asked about the expansion of the NCAA tournament, and she did go back and say, what I was surprised at when she said, "Hey, that's not a revenue generator."
Yeah.
We're not talking. That actually kind of surprised me because we're not talking about a lot of money here by going to 72 or 76. And I think you and I have always thought, well, if you're going to 72 or 76, it's just a money grab. She's saying maybe in the next negotiation, but right now you're just talking about adding games. You're talking about adding travel. You're talking about adding different sites. It's not the money grab. It's being rewarded for a good season. She was politically correct enough to bring in mid-majors in that, but let's be honest, the expansion of the tournament is more for teams that get left out because of the last four or the first four out or whatever you want to call it for the bigger conferences. I believe that anyway. But she did say if you listen close enough, she did say 68 is where it's at.
Yeah.
I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. There was some confusion about when she talked about Brad Heinrichs and what they were going to pay him. She didn't say they were paying Brad Heinrichs. What she said, if Brad Heinrichs is not going to come here and work an 8-to-5 job and take a pay of whatever they're going to pay him. Brad Heinrichs is a very, very successful businessman and does not need to go into an office job to run a collective.
What she said there was, we can't afford Brad. Brad has his own thing. We are great. I loved, again, reading that body language of her, seeing that where when you brought up Brad, I'm glad to see that was the response of like, man, we're really grateful for this guy. And the one thing that we all know about Brad Heinrichs, he's a Hawkeye. He's a Hawkeye through and through. He's a Hawkeye, and he'll do anything to help out, and glad that he's on the Hawkeye team.
And I think Brad would agree with that. I mean, and I think there will be a changing point because you have to evolve. And I don't think Brad wanted to do this forever. I think he likes coming on and doing interviews. I think he likes that, but I also know that it sucks a lot of his time, and he is trying to run big businesses. And at the end of the day, as this evolves, I think he'd be more than happy to hand it over as long as it's in a good place, right? Okay, what's your plan?
Well, he's not going to have.
Yeah,
it's going to have to happen. So,
but we want to thank Beth Goetz for taking the time and sitting down with us and having that conversation. I can't wait to have her back because I think there's. But what was covered was the topics of the day, right? I mean, it was so immediate with the House settlement, with college football playoff, which we'll hear a lot more today because the SEC media days start today. And it'll be interesting to see how much more the SEC is covered than the Big 12. The Big 12 was covered a little bit last week by the major media outlets, but it wasn't, you didn't get really anything newsworthy every single day. You will today with the SEC, one, because it's the SEC. Greg Sankey will probably do his state of the SEC. College football playoffs will come up. You're going to see the positioning by the SEC.
There you go.
And what I like about the Big Ten waiting till after the SEC, it's almost like the Big Ten or the SEC positions, and then the Big Ten can come in and counter, or it can agree. So you'll know where both these conferences stand the next 2 weeks.
In debate, you always are in a better position to be in the defense because you get to go last.
Makes a lot of sense.
You get to go last. Everybody else has to play their cards, and then you get to respond.
When we interview for jobs, and in my world, we interview for jobs, I say I either want to go first or I want to go last. I don't want to be in the middle because usually there's 3 or 4 companies you interview against. I want to be first because I think my team is prepared enough that they're going to knock your socks off, or you want to be last for the same reason, but you're also last of mine. So there is some gamesmanship when it goes with that. You don't want to be stuck in the middle because you're stuck in the middle again.
I need to keep that in mind. Okay.
Yeah. My little bit of advice for you. But again, the Beth Goetz interview will be up right around 8:30 on our YouTube channel, just the interview. And I highly suggest you just go back and watch it again. And because there's a lot of good information in there. And she said a lot of things. And watch the body language. Ross, you're so right in that. Listen to the answer, but watch the body language at the same time. And I think you can interpret some things.
Yeah, I totally agree. That was really good, man. Again, can't say it enough. Tip of the cap. Big thanks to Beth Goetz for doing that. I wish I could have been there on Friday, but my son was catching his first muskie, and I was crying on the boat like a blubbering baby.
Isn't it funny what things will bring you to tears? Catching a muskie brings you to tears.
Not even catching a muskie. I wasn't even on the boat. Watching him catch the muskie with my buddy Carlstead on net, my cousin's husband Audie in the boat, and Gary, the guy that you guys got to meet for just a minute last Thursday, for a couple minutes. You know, I was having a very reflective week, very appreciative, a religious type of week. I did a lot of praying and stuff like that. And I was having this great conversation with my buddy Dusty, and he's on the boat with me. And we just, having a very reflective, appreciative conversation of God and life and all the things that we've had a chance to do. And a lot of that was because of Gary. Gary has welcomed us onto that island for the last decade or more. It's been almost 15 years that we've been going up to Ballard's. And I've made incredible memories with my friends and my kid because of this man, right? And he's a fun guy to be around, as you guys all saw. And so when Dusty and I are having this conversation, but at the same time, the lake flies are biting us.
Are they big like horse flies? Are they big flies?
There's two different types of flies that were crazy up there, dude. The ones were these great big flies that were buzz you, and they were just annoying. But the other ones, they were kind of green. They looked like normal flies, and they'd bite you. They'd bite you through your socks. It was, ugh. So Dusty was like the canary in the coal mine. He would be the first one that got attacked by the bugs every time. And we're out trying to fish. We're about a mile away from Eli and Gary and Ryan and Audie. And finally, we're like, fed up with it. Let's just if we drive across the lake and go fast across the lake, the bugs will be off of us for a few minutes, and that'll be a little bit of a break. Let's do it. So we fired up the boat, and I'm driving across the lake, and we're getting close, and we can see all the guys are moving around on the boat, and Gary's moving around, and like, well, if the guide's moving around, they're catching a big fish. And we looked first like Carl said had the big fish because he's kind of leaning over the edge of the boat. So Dusty says, I think Carlson caught a big one. And as we're getting closer, Audie turns around and he's like waving at us, come on. Like, oh, yeah, they got a big fish. And now we're driving closer and we can see it's Eli holding the pole. Carlson's got the net. Like, oh, Eli's got a big fish. And Eli had said going up, he's like, all I want to do is catch a muskie. I want to catch a muskie. Yeah, kid, everybody does, right?
Is that the most elusive fish in that lake? Is the muskie?
By far. Yeah. And we pull up, and as we get about 100 yards away, Eli turns around, he's flexing. And rolling up on that, man, and I love everybody on that boat. You know what I mean? Eli and my buddy Carlstead and my cousin Audie and Gary for all these amazing memories. And Dusty sitting in the boat with me, another guy I love. And yeah, I did. I was crying. I had tears in my. I mean, I wasn't blubbering, but put tears in my eyes just of appreciation and thankfulness and the blessings that I've been given by God that I'm in no way deserving of, and I was overcome by all of that in a moment. And got a photo from my vantage point, but then of course the boys got a really good photo of Eli holding his first muskie. And Gary's in the background, and awesome week, dude. Everybody on that trip got what they wanted. And what I mean is, like, Tyrell wanted to catch a big northern. He caught a big northern. Tyrell's son wanted to catch fish and that made all these great memories. Eli wanted to catch a muskie. I guarantee you, Carlstead and Dusty are just like me. They just wanted to have a wonderful, relaxing weekend where we caught fish. We've all caught enough fish that, like my dad always says, how come you don't take pictures of you with fish? Because I've got them. I got 1,000 of those. It's way more fun to do the pictures of the shore lunch and the moments like that are way cooler.
I know you probably didn't watch it yesterday, but Indiana beat Dallas 102-83. That was the Caitlin Clark, Paige Beckers game. And I was reminded yesterday as I was watching that game, Ross, and this is going to be maybe blasphemous to a lot of Caitlin Clark fans, but I was reminded as she had 14 points, 13 assists, that I think I would much rather watch Caitlin Clark pass the basketball than score. So her long threes are great. She's still struggling from behind the arc. But the way she passes and the angle she finds, and in the book I'm reading, they talk about her playing soccer when she was a kid, and that helped her develop those angles. Like she was able to see the court a lot better from playing soccer. But I'm watching her pass yesterday going, when you don't put the pressure on yourself to score all the time, like you probably did at Dowling, like you did several times at Iowa, but you have such great players around you, and you're able to do the passing, it's such more enjoyable for me to watch as a fan. I'm like, I don't need you to score 40. If you make the passes you make, I could watch this all day long because everybody else kind of filled the gaps.
Dude, there's something about that. I mean, like, we can remember the dynamic passers. Magic Johnson. Magic Johnson was a great scorer and could play any position on the court, but he was one of the greatest point guards of all time because of that no look diversion thing that he could do. I loved Jason Williams. You remember White Chocolate?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That dude. That was the definition of having the ball on a string. The elbow pass. He goes to throw the pass behind his back one direction, hits it with his elbow to Rafe LaFrentz the other way. Like, even Larry Bird, legendary scorer. Man, when Larry was, again, the same thing, throwing the ball over his back, no look passes. That was so cool. Pistol Pete.
It's almost like the quarterback thing, right? You're watching a quarterback literally on the court, and you're like, that was an unbelievable pass. And yesterday, they scored 64 points in the first half. That's a fever first half record. I mean, that's a lot of points in the first half. And they didn't need Caitlin to score a bunch. What they needed her to do was distribute the basketball. And the more she distributes, the better shot she's going to get. But, every time she took a long three, I'm like, okay, you didn't need it. I understood you were open. But, man, I love watching you pass. And there's just something about it. You're like, man, I keep passing.
You've put something in my brain here. I think it's a cultural thing. I really do. There's something deeper happening here.
Okay.
There's something about incorporating others. There's something about sharing the success. I guarantee you there's something about this, okay? There is a reason China has a bajillion people but can't win in soccer. They can't put together, they've dedicated themselves to trying to win in soccer. They've tried to put billions of dollars into it, and they can't do it. One of the things that they have to do with youth soccer in China is teach the kids, coach them to be happy for their teammates. The Chinese culture is a very individual, even though they are communist, it's a very individual, success-driven culture. European countries are very good at soccer because the kids from a very early age are taught teamwork. They're taught the advantages of working with others for a goal. In Chinese culture, and I mean, there are podcasts upon podcasts about how China's investment in soccer failed because of a cultural legacy that's existed for generations and always will. There's something about what we just had there, Travis, where, man, what is it watching a person like Caitlin Clark's a great example of it. I totally agree with you. Watching her hit threes is awesome. That's what made Caitlin Clark famous, is shooting from the logo and going for 30 points and doing this at an incredible rate and delivering all the time. But, man, when she's throwing those bounce passes between players, finding gaps that nobody should, or those long baseball passes that you just don't see a lot of women make, I think that there's something cultural there that we like seeing that shared success.
It's because you come off as unselfish at that point. And there were a couple times yesterday she could have easily taken a shot, but she gave it up for the easier basket to a teammate. And you're like, that was unselfish. And you're like, okay, you are putting the team ahead of yourself. And I think people like to see that.
Her court vision has always been fantastic. And I do think that it's the icing on top of the cake. The cake is Caitlin Clark shooting from the logo.
Yes.
The icing is it's so much more than just that. Yeah.
Paige Beckers did have 21 points yesterday, and she's amazing too. And I can't imagine. It'd be interesting to see what the ratings are for that game yesterday because it was so highly built up. Of course, you got the All-Star game coming up in Indianapolis on Saturday. That'll be an 8 or 7:30 game, I believe. A couple more games are going to be at Connecticut and at New York. The Fever will be this week before the All-Star game. But go ahead.
I just have one quick clarification before we get done here. So I remember I told you that 2 players from the same high school were drafted in the top 10.
Yeah.
Okay, I screwed up. I'm so sorry. I screwed up. Etch it in stone, grab a Sharpie. This is from SI.com. Record the moment. 3 Corona high school baseball players were selected in the first round. Seth Hernandez was selected number 6 overall by the Pirates. Billy Carlson, number 10 overall, and the White Sox, and Brady Ebel was number 32 by the Brewers. 3 kids from the same California high school drafted in the first round.
That's probably the best high school in the country in high school baseball. Yes, ever. That's amazing. All right, if you missed any part of the show, going to be up on the podcast version a little bit later on. You can always just pick it up in action at therushladio.com. The Beth Goetz interview going to be on our YouTube channel. And don't forget to buy your merch, for 15% of our sales go to Can Play. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Good to have you along on the Rush Radio Show, powered by Willis Automotive.
This July, splash into savings at Willis Chevrolet of Granger, where the deals are heating up and the prices are cooling down. Right now, get 0% for 36 months on the rugged and reliable Silverado 1500. Looking for a mid-size truck? Drive off in a new Colorado with lease payments starting at just $399 a month. Head to Willis Chevrolet of Granger today or visit us online at willischevy.com and make a splash with your next ride.
Body Armor. Real hydration with electrolytes, no artificial dyes, and coconut water. Choose better. Body Armor.
With over 260 beers on tap, El Bait Shop isn't just another craft beer bar. It's the best. Beer lovers know. El Bait Shop, 200 Southwest 2nd, Des Moines.
There's a new spin on casual dining near Drake University. Lucky Horse Beer and Burgers. Craveable faves, flatbreads, delicious burgers, frozen cocktails, and a crazy cool vibe. Get to Lucky Horse Beer and Burgers today.
Are you thinking about buying a home this year? Start by getting pre-approved with Gary Presnall at Northwest Bank in Des Moines to see how much you can qualify for and what loan programs meet your needs. Gary can get you pre-approved in 30 minutes or less with a pre-approval letter to you. Gary offers first-time home buyers programs, VA loans along with FHA, IFA, and conventional loans. Call Gary at 515-975-6767 or find his profile at nw.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Hi, I'm Sean McFarland, Service Manager here at Mini of Des Moines. July is here and so is the hot summer heat. Now is the best time to get your Mini in to make sure it and your air conditioning is ready for your motoring adventures this summer. Visit us online at miniofdesmoines.com or give us a call to schedule your appointment.
Bread is made from scratch, freshly baked with locally sourced ingredients and love. At Big Sky Bakery, we take great pride in our delicious products. We know you'll enjoy them almost as much as we enjoy baking.
Every business has priorities, and Priority One Heating and Cooling is no different. As a service provider, we prioritize quality air conditioners and furnaces that will keep your home at your comfort level year-round. As a small business, we prioritize doing things the right way and treating people fairly. As a truly local business, we prioritize our community. As a veteran-owned business, we prioritize duty and commitment. For big business service with local value, trust your home to the place where you are always Priority One.
Back to the Rush. Strong opinions, weak filters, and just enough sense to stay on the air. It's the Rush Radio Show, powered by Willis Automotive.